Alex Answer here. It is June 9th in the year 2018. Hope you're all doing well. I am soaking in some rays this morning. I'm in town. I'm going to upload this video. I want to talk about energy. One of the reasons why I chose to take a few months off of at least having the internet at home is to reset my energy. I think that this is something that we all might want to consider in our own personal lives. You know, it's more than January 1st in these New Year's resolutions. To me, it almost seems like the new year is spring anyways. And there are different times within the year in which we may want to shift up our energy in order to continue being successful at what it is that we're doing. And for me, success on a personal level is just simply being happy where I'm at, creating online video content, being able to make my basic bills. Beyond that, I'd like to grow. I'd like to find some volunteers to help me with some online work, whether it be proofreading, whether it be editing, whether it be helping find news. I'd like to know what good people also exist out there in this world, women included, because I could tell you that in my experiences, I've seen a lot of validation for why I've gone off the grid, the importance of living off the grid, the importance of stepping back from dependency on urban environments. It doesn't mean that we are outside the box of needing money per se, or even desiring people to talk to once in a while. The question is, there's a time and a place for everything, including living in fantastic cities like Portland, Oregon, although maybe a little fantastic today in my opinion, but at one point, absolutely. One of the best cities on earth. There's a time and a place. Sometimes, though, it's really about tapping into that energy, that field. It's not so much about the time and the place. You know, there's a reason why people like myself and others, we love music from the 80s and cinema from the 80s, because it takes us back to a time in our childhood, especially if we were born at a particular point in time. I was born in 1980. So, for me, there's something about going back to the age of innocence, before I knew too much, before elements of this world hurt me. So there's a time of innocence where there's more purity on that level. So many things were still new. On a level, there was more hope, you could even say. Romantic, hopeful, as they call those humans, you know, that have an optimistic view of particular things before they start waking up to the way that things really are. But I think it's important to have hope. Sometimes we go back in our memories in order to fix what we feel is broken, in order to heal, in order to recenter, in order to restore an energy field that has been manipulated by today's day and age, by today's modern technology. And this is something that a lot of people don't take into effect. I want to caution people against being addicted to the latest conspiracy of the moment or the latest thing to be concerned about. For all of you that are concerned about 5G, those are the same reasons to be concerned about what's been happening to us since the advent of cell phones, period. Anytime you're in a mall or a place of employment, or you are engaged with others that are holding that technology in their hands, is a time in which you are saturated with unnatural electromagnetic fields. There was one article that was discussing the dangers of 5G technology, and in that they embedded a video about the dangers of unnatural electromagnetic fields. Of course, they just said electromagnetic fields without specifying, which is fine. But understand, what is coming from the sun, what is coming from the cosmic rays, the gamma ray bursts, those are all magnetic field influences that affect us here on Earth, especially the solar flares. Magnetic fields are not to be feared. We have a field around our own body, just as the planet Earth has a field around it. And our universe goes through major energy changes, which thus change weather patterns even. on planet Earth is called space weather, as in spaceweather.gov and spaceweather.com. Lesser known by today's human is the human response to the energy changes. They can be positive if you know what's going on. It can also be chaotic. There could be periods in which it seems that people have lost their way, or they're migrating. They're constantly moving from one place to another. They may be responding to the influx, right, of these highly energized particles. Some people refer to them as the protons and electrons, bombarding our Earth's electromagnetic field. Got to move here for just a moment here. Make this a little bit more private. So I want to talk about that, the importance of maintaining a healthy energy field when we are going about our existence on this planet. And because it's a prison planet, it comes with the technologies that one might expect to find within a prison. From surveillance cameras to other technologies, there are other influences on our energy fields. And a lot of people forget that or aren't aware of that. So someone could complain when they go into certain environments that they're not able to get internet because they're at a remote location. And it could take years for them or others to realize the benefit of being in an area where cell phone towers, or in the future, we're talking about 5G, there's going to be a higher benefit to being in some of these areas to where the magnetic field energy is mostly natural, okay? It's not a bunch of unnatural electromagnetic fields contributing to depression, contributing to addiction, which includes sex addiction, because sex is about an exchange of energy. I feel less lustful and less lonely living off the grid within my own field. Now, up on my residence, I can feel the fields of that which is going on around me. And in some cases, even the thoughts, the intentions. It's also taken some time for me to adjust to isolated magnetic field locations. It can feel lonely. We can feel lonely being isolated from other people. I've had to face that in this period without the internet. Unresolved pain and issues, right, regarding my mother and my father. And I very much worry about them. And I very much give them gratitude and credit for exposing me to some elements of this world that are positive, elements of this matrix that are positive. I watched the mother kitten taking care of her children, the forms of life that she brought into this world, and, you know, she's not perfect. She's not able to see me beyond something that's just simply a predator that's just tricking her by giving her food the last few months. And I find her operating system to be very limited, as beautiful as nature is, and as beautiful, right, as cats are. That cat is stuck in fight or flight. I think it's a little bit odd then to live so close to a predator. Now that she's moved, and with my help, of course, all of the kittens underneath my shed, where they live a life freer from threats, from predators, from the air or otherwise, under that shed, as opposed to simply being in the wilderness without any structures to hide under. What I see it as a sharing of energy regardless. I may share some energy with them or protection. And by the cats being around and me feeding them, it feels like good luck, even if they're not comfortable with me petting them. And I don't feel a need to kidnap the kittens for affection, even though the idea of cats being around me and being nice to me and coming up and saying hi, I like the idea of that. The idea of kidnapping a cat for long-term purposes, so I can condition them to be my little subservient pet, I'm not so down with that form of energy. So I want to go back to some other main points it's all about an effective use of energy, and we do need to hold up. A lot more of this needs to go into writing to make sense of it, but I've been making videos about this for a while. The core behind psychic protection is holding up a healthy magnetic field. And there are certain elements of this world and lifestyles that can expose us. I was just talking about cell phone technology as opposed to living in the middle of nowhere. Now, it's not just about that. That's just one slice in a larger pie with regards to this conversation about energy. To go on to another one, if someone is in an environment where they're surrounded by XXX bookstores and strip clubs and a combination of open-air prostitution and people advertising what they're not selling. So to go from like the Portland lifestyle and that type of experience in all the different years also that I really wished that I had a significant other, a woman in my corner. For me to go away from or to move away from a harsh urban environment where sex sells more today than it seems to have ever sold before. To go into a more natural environment where things move a little bit slower. Again, I haven't been without my challenges living here, but it was really done with the intentions of stepping back from unnatural magnetic fields. This includes not just the cell phone towers or the cell phones that many people are holding on their bodies. So you think about malls, think about neighborhoods, think about like beautiful neighborhoods, but think about every home in that beautiful coded neighborhood having a smart meter. And think about just the overlay. More people, more of this artificial technology, more of this artificial magnetic field energy that I believe has the ability to possess human beings. Now, before you get defensive, when I say the word possess, it looks like I started to squash this letter from Angelus. This is a little bit of her, she made art out of the envelope. This is me looking fairly excited, coming upon a pond at the National Forest when she came to visit, and I was very happy to see it. And here are the geese going, oh God, who's this Alex Ansary character? Kind of like a lot of humans in the city, but the geese for good reason. Here we just wanted to enjoy our little moment of hanging out in the pond, and here's this dude over here. So resetting an energy field needs more than just cutting back from the internet, but cutting back from the internet can help with that. The internet is something that is a tool. I see it more now than ever as something that's like a utility. But you know, you don't want to stick your tongue inside the electric box. There are ways in which people can abuse the internet to where it is no longer something that serves them, but something that either annoys them or holds their energy back in some way because they let it. Just like a substance, just like a certain person or a place or a relationship, sometimes it's time to move on from certain relationships. Or in my case, sometimes it's good to just take a break and step into another energy field that may be positive on one level, monetary. Of course, I got a ticket for no insurance because I didn't have money prior to that to continue my insurance. The money that I did have, $400, went into a new tire and new shocks plus the replacement. That was about $365 total. I did not have the extra money for insurance. I have court at a building not too far away from where I'm sitting in July. And it's possible that what money I have saved is all going to go to a ticket. Even if the judge knocks the bill down, he's going to be knocking it down from $600. So this would be a case of me wanting to shift up my energy, make more money on somewhere other than the internet, because right now I'm at like $95 a month on YouTube. It's at an all-time low. This is of all times the time that I could use your support, but I chose to go back into the workplace instead of do a fundraiser. And what I found was nearly all the money went into the car just to keep the car running. And very little of that energy went to helping me get a few months ahead for land payments. I'm barely scraping by. And certain expenses, certain things I felt that I couldn't afford. Insurance was one of them, the internet was another. And even with support coming in here and there, an occasional donation of $50 or $25, thank you Jared by the way, even with some of that help, it's there to just barely scrape by. Feed myself, put gas in the car, make sure the car wheels don't fall off during the process. Talking about the strut replacement. In an ideal world, I would have a cheaper mechanic to go to for some of those things. And in that case, I felt that I was really risking the health of my car's axle. So basically, a lot of energy went to just keeping this car running, is what I'm getting at. And in doing so, though, I'm changing some of the ways in which I look at certain things just to survive, just to maintain. You know, I'm often daydreaming about another place or another city or a community or a get-together or a party, and while I desire those things and I crave those things, then I'd like to see a beach, I'd like to go to the Caribbean, I'd like to travel beyond the United States, I'd like to see Mexico. Hey, is anybody in Mexico that's watching my channel? But see, what I need to learn is that energy, right, I can experience within myself. You know, it was nice to go to San Diego. I wish I stayed longer. I really do. I wish things turned out better, but I did go prematurely. I even went a little bit prematurely for, you know, the person that I was visiting. You know, he could have used some further, but I just wanted to change up the energy. See, you see what I'm saying? Even if I was going to be in a cesspool field of energy like Greyhound, I felt the necessity to change up my energy field, to just continue being sharp at what it is that I do, to not be dull. And I'm having to find out is, in order to even achieve a certain milestone of accumulating a certain type of monetary energy, it seems that I need to stay at the same spot. You know, I may desire to feel the magnetic field, the natural electromagnetic fields of other humans and people and places by traveling to those different magnetic field energies. But ultimately, the truth is we can go there in our own mind, in our own spirit. Not necessarily remote viewing, but kind of the same premises, but not necessarily with all the official steps. You know, sitting in a certain room and following instructions, but simply closing one's eyes and imagining certain things, and positive things. Another reason the internet can at times be an adverse thing is with the negative imagery and the negative news shaping our reality for us. And in some ways it does that for me because I'm so sensitive. And my whole day could be redirected to responding to a particular headline when instead maybe the first half of my day should be spent in meditation, exercise, or reading before I touch that flaming sword, which I call the internet, the double-edged sword. Something that is both very powerful, that can transport ideas around the world. It's also powerful enough to blow our own electro circuits, if that makes sense. It does make sense. That's why you're actually hearing about digital detoxes more. People going out into the wilderness and not touching computers, because it's not just about refraining from the internet or cell phone usage. And I don't mean to put any of you down that use cell phones. Most of the people that watch YouTube watch on mobile. But these are just things to think about. But I will tell you, in that brief time that I got a knockoff smartphone, right, I felt the addictive nature of looking at that specific smaller mobile device more so than my laptop. So laptops, and I would even say, you know, like the cheaper ones like I have, they probably emit a certain amount of radiation, but compared to an iPhone, so I'm not here to hurt your feelings. And I'm sure plenty of you took note of the fact that I was critical of cell phone addiction, and then after that, I chose to step away from my own computer to set a positive example, but also to feel what it's like. And I'll come back and continue talking about it, but it's more than just saying, hey, I'm going to step back from being on the internet and being on the computer, and I'm going to end up with XYZ results. Well, the results, or that certain things that we struggle with, we'll still be struggling with. And we might even feel more discontent emotion, i.e. negative emotion. But that could be because what is there that was being buried, what is there that was hidden, that was covered up by the addiction or by the distraction. Because I'm not trying to be mean to anyone. I'm talking about things that I've dealt with. I've literally grown up with the internet around me. But fortunately, it didn't really enter my life in a strong way or influential way until I was in my 20s. And now, I believe that I've seen like the mindful expression of it and how it can facilitate building community, and the very opposite, how the internet itself and the way that people slander others and put others down and bully others, cyberbullying as they call it, and whole communities could be attacked by leading media figures, people like Alex Jones and others. We could see the influence of the internet over certain people to target innocents. You know, back in the day, they actually had to get together at a bar or somewhere and actually plan something out. Today, anonymous people can target innocent people on the internet. So the internet is a double-edged sword. It can literally be used to help cut a path through the wilderness or slice up an innocent village. A sword has multiple purposes, you see. And the pen is mightier than the sword. The pen could be used to sit down and write something out, like an unlock minds. The pen could be used like, like it was used by Joe Pesci in the movie Casino. As I said before, a power saw could be used to build a house, but you're going to have a difficult time making a smoothie with a power saw. But you might need power to make a smoothie, but just a different tool. So the internet is a tool, and within the internet, there are different websites that can provide us with different tools. We can monitor the sun with tools that are provided on the internet, or we can find ourselves using Facebook like an artificial reality. And Facebook has some positive applications. I still use it. But I see how Facebook has become an artificial reality. One of the most mindful ways to continue to use the internet in the day and age of digital addiction is to use the internet with an intention to build community or to do something for others or to spread an idea about others that are involved in the enslavement process, or to set an example, show people what a freedom way of life looks like, to step away from addictions to certain things, people, places, and things that could be going off the grid. Whatever it is for you, that may be your particular declaration of independence, explanation of what freedom means for you. You know, I've said before, set aside your own truth notebook. You don't necessarily have to share with me personally what your truth is, but to be able to have a journal. It's like you can have a personal journal like I do, and also be working slowly over time on your autobiography as I am, and also maybe have another journal or notebook where you share. And again, when I say ideas, think energy. And the more positive energy you have in your body that flushes out those negative image pictures, for example, i.e. mind control, whether it was intentional or unintentional. So you want to flush out those negative images and bring in that positive energy, and especially into your consciousness. And when you have more positive energy than negative energy in your consciousness and in your body, in your mind, body, and spirit, then you can see and speak more clearly than the person that is clouded. And so there's value in taking time out of your day to write, to ponder, to meditate, to read something new, and not necessarily just read one book at a time. And I don't necessarily mean just read fiction or just read nonfiction, but change it up. Or read several books at the same time. That could be nonfiction as well as fiction, and you may not want to stay with that whole book all day long, right? But these are healthy things, and these are things that mankind has done for thousands of years. Mankind has not been on Facebook for thousands of years. The repercussion of an addiction like that leads to things like the implantable brain chip, to be frank. And other forms of virtual realities where they're not even necessarily taking a microchip, but they might as well. You know, so I think that for myself, I think about the types of things that I need to output, videos, personal posts, things that I write, also things that I repost, that I find that are valuable, that others, right? Because the overabundance of information on even like mediums like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter can cause some people to go, well, now I'm numb to all the information. I just don't appreciate the researcher that goes out and spends hours to pick out the more truthful facts of information to save us some time. People have lost their appreciation for that, and some people haven't. I think some of you that are there that do appreciate the work that I do put into these videos.